Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas, and this is Investing Against the Grain. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why size matters. It really does. But before we do that, I want to talk about GM and their new EV Silverado, and just something that I didn't even notice, but one of our viewers, one of our subscribers, one of our fellow Investing Against the Grain fans commented below. And they brought up a very interesting observation. I'm going to extrapolate that a little bit more and show you how GM is still stuck in the past. But before we do that, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and let's get into it. Over the week, we had CES. And at CES, Mary Barra, GM, they unveiled what they've been talking about for some time now, the Silverado EV, the electric vehicle version of the Silverado. So you can see it here. And, it's not my taste. It's not the type of truck I would ever buy. I'm a Cybertruck reservation holder. I would also, lean towards the F-150. Again, even though I'm not a fan of the way that, handlebar mustache looks like on the front of it. But this is the Silverado EV. And it's very interesting because, again, one of our subscribers commented on one of my previous videos, drawing a very interesting analysis that it looks very much like the Chevy Avalanche. And so take a look at this. This is a truck that GM used to make, the Chevy Avalanche. And yeah, it has a very interesting look to it, doesn't it? It's got the same thing on the back of it, right? That kind of swooping down edge. And, the color is obviously very similar as well, but overall, it looks very similar to this vehicle. And so if you don't believe me, take a look at this. This is them stacked on top of each other. And to me, if I was just looking at this pretty quickly, they look just about identical. If anything, this new Chevy EV Silverado just looks like a reboot of the Avalanche. And what do I mean by that, by reboot? Well, in April of 2012, GM announced that the production of the Avalanche would end after the 2013 model year, after 2011 saw sales decline of 2.6% to only 20,000 vehicles. So this is very interesting how, I don't know what it is with GM, but for some reason, they are choosing to live in the past while trying to come into the future. GM's first new EV, besides the Chevy Bolt, where they were trying to come out with this Ultium battery and new platform and everything, was the Hummer, the EV Hummer. Yet this is another vehicle that, if we look here, you can see that, past the description on top here, it says, although it was discontinued in 2010, the Hummer returned as a sub-brand GMC in 2021, which is now, right? This was the launch of the EV. So what they've done is, for their first two, truck-type models, they've taken the Avalanche that was discontinued in 2013, and they've taken the Hummer that was discontinued in 2010, and they've chosen to lead this way, to go into the new EV revolution by rebooting a former Avalanche design and making that the Silverado and bringing back the Hummer. But here's my question to GM, to Mary Barra, who are leading, right? If this is your entry and your way into this EV market to compete against Tesla and Ford and Volkswagen and all of the Chinese EVs and the Lucids and the Rivians, etc., why are you choosing to use two models that you discontinued because they weren't getting enough sales? This is very perplexing to me. I don't understand the strategy here, but we'll see what happens. I think time will tell. 2022 is going to be the year of put up or shut up. It's going to be the year of, enough of all this marketing, all this headlines. Show me what you've done. No more lip service. We'll see what happened. But shout out to that viewer. I thought that was an excellent observation. It is very, very similar to the Avalanche. The Hummer, I don't know why they're bringing that back. I've been saying this for a few months now. It's weird to me to try to reboot old models that had no success and to think that they're just going to have success now because it's a different powertrain. I don't know. I find it hard to believe. Anyways, let's get to the main topic of this video. Size matters. We have heard over and over how Tesla is, going to be maybe at 5 or 10 million vehicles by 2030, right? This is what we hear. All of the analysts and the pundits and all the news channels, they say this over and over. And they seem to be in disbelief when Elon Musk says that the goal is to have 20 million vehicles per year by 2030 and probably sooner, right? Probably 2029 or 2028 is the goal. And a lot of people seem to be in disbelief that this will happen. Why? I don't know. Something like this, I don't know why this is where you're really going to all of a sudden be like, okay, this one Elon Musk can't do. You know, can he land reusable rockets? Yeah. Can he do it on a drone? Yeah. Can he revolutionize the world when it comes to banking and transferring money? PayPal? Yeah. Can he change the whole paradigm of the vehicle industry, of the car and truck industry into EVs? Yeah, he did. So why is it that this is the point where people start to disbelieve or have disbelief in Elon Musk when it comes to his aspirational goals for 20 million by 2030? Let me show you why it already seems like they have enough space in order to do this, right? They have enough land, they have enough resources to do this, right? So it's not a matter of, I keep hearing everyone saying, oh, they're gonna have to open up 15 new gigafactories every 6 months by X date and all this crap. Like, this is just not thinking properly, not understanding Tesla the right way. So let's start off by taking a look at Giga Texas. So this is Giga Texas. As you can see, it's a massive, massive manufacturing plant. Okay, this is several stories high, and it is slated to be the largest manufacturing plant in the world. Now, some people say Boeing's is the largest, but either way, if it's one or it's number two, it doesn't really matter. The point is, this is massive. This is a massive, massive manufacturing plant, and they're going to be able to build a lot of vehicles out of this plant. Now that we've seen this, let's take a look at all of the land that Tesla has for their manufacturing plants all across the world. So here we can see a list, right? We can see where Giga Texas is. You can see the landmass. You can see Giga Berlin, Giga Nevada, Giga Shanghai, Tesla factory. This is in Fremont. And then we can see Giga New York, which is where they do a lot of the solar panels, and Tilburg. But really the main ones here are going to be Shanghai, Berlin, Austin, and Fremont. So Fremont alone can do about 600 to 750,000 vehicles per year. And we can see the size here. And then we see Giga Shanghai. Giga Shanghai at this point is essentially at about 1 million vehicles a year run rate, especially with the new addition. You know, let's just chalk it up to 1 million. All right, we'll just call it there just to use easy numbers. Now, if we look at Giga Berlin, you can see the outline here for essentially three other areas of land that have yet to be built on. This, if you just take Shanghai and you dump it onto this, right? We're making this very simplistic, but it's just so you get an idea. If you take Giga Shanghai, dump it on there, you can see that you could put about 2 Giga Shanghais into Giga Berlin. And so if we assume Giga Shanghai is at about 1 million vehicles a year, and you can put 2 Giga Shanghais into Giga Berlin, that's about 2 million vehicles out of Giga Berlin. Easy math. We're not even going to talk about efficiencies. We're not going to talk about anything else. Just, and we're not even going to talk about the fact that Giga Shanghai is still, ramping up. So just easy numbers. So Giga Shanghai, massive, 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 right? I mean, the record numbers. Giga Berlin, we're very excited about this. This is going to be huge. It's going to be bigger than even Shanghai. But then look at Giga Texas. Look how big, how vast the land is there compared to all of these other ones. Okay, it dwarfs them. You could take Giga Berlin, Nevada, Shanghai, Tilburg, New York, and Fremont, put all of them inside of the landmass of Giga Texas. That's how big it is. Now, another way to think about this is to actually map out how big Giga Texas is onto this landmass. So if you recall, let's look at this again. This is Giga Texas, Giga Austin. This is, again, either going to be the largest manufacturing plant in the world, or it'll be the second. Either way, this is going to be massive. Now, how many of these could we possibly fit onto the landmass of Giga Texas? Well, take a look at this. The colored in red here is the size of Giga Texas. Everything else you see here, all these other ones, that's the landmass that Tesla has. So if we assume that just this one factory could do 2 million vehicles a year, and we've got enough room here to do another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We could add in another 8 factories here. Now, I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I'm not sure that's how they're going to plan this out, or that's what the roadmap is. But the point is, again, they're playing chess. They're making strategic moves. I've talked about this a lot. I don't see them really opening up many more gigafactories in other places. Maybe they'll do one in India. other than that, I really don't see them adding more. I see them expanding their current footprint of where they are. And this goes to show you, right? There's a reason why Tesla bought all this extra land in Texas. There's a reason why they bought all the extra land in Berlin. And there's a reason why they keep expanding Shanghai. Okay, these are strategic moves in order to go ahead and get more mass and be able to benefit from that supply chain. At the end of the day, it makes no sense to have to recreate your supply chain every single place you build a new gigafactory, every time you want a new manufacturing plant. What makes more sense is to think 10 steps ahead and think, okay, well, in the future, we're going to need this, and we're going to need more volume, we're going to need more plants. So why don't we buy more land now so that in the future, we already have the land to build, and it's right next to the other factory, and we already have the supply chain there, right? And everything can just grow exponentially from that point on. Instead, most people don't do that, right? It's the Tesla way, right? There's a reason why Tesla bought all these extra batteries, all these other chips whenever the pandemic hit. And they didn't, while other manufacturers were cutting their orders because of the pandemic, Tesla said, look, we're going to need these one way or another, so we're just going to keep buying at volume. They've said over and over since, I think, 2019, we will buy every single battery that all these battery companies make, and we're going to make our own. We're going to supplement our own. And, we want everything you can sell. Anything you can sell us, as long as it's a reasonable price, we will buy it. It's because Tesla has a long-term vision, okay? They're not thinking quarter to quarter. They're thinking a decade ahead. And so this is why size matters, because Tesla is not thinking about tomorrow. They're not thinking about, 3 months from now. They're thinking about the long run. This is massive. And I think this is what a lot of these analysts don't see. They get it. They hear that Giga Texas is about to open, Giga Berlin's going to open. They're like, okay, maybe they can each do 500,000 vehicles. That blows my mind that that's what they think. They think that Giga Berlin, Giga Texas are going to be doing less vehicles than Fremont. These factories that are massively, way larger than what Fremont is. These factories that have learned from Shanghai, these factories that are built custom by Tesla, these factories that are going to have more automation, less parts, better processes with the gigacast. I mean, it's just insane to think that they're only going to be doing 500,000 vehicles. Now, how many are they going to do? Who knows? I don't know. Honestly, I think each segment of Giga Berlin will be able to do 1 million. I think what's about to open from Austin now will eventually be able to scale up to 1.5 to 2 million. And that's not even with all this other land mass and developing that. All right, so there's a lot of runway here. There's a lot of room for growth. And think about it this way. If Elon is predicting 20 million by 2030, then clearly he's worked backwards from that and thought about, okay, what are we going to need? And maybe that's why we have all this extra land being bought in Berlin, in Austin, while we're expanding Shanghai, right? They're thinking about this ahead of time. So I just want to bring a little perspective into this conversation because I keep seeing all of these analysts, all these talking heads. I look on Twitter and everybody keeps talking about how, maybe Tesla will get to 4 or 5 million vehicles by 2030. That's so far off the mark. It's unreal. Even the predictions for next quarter or next year for 2022, this year. Wow. I keep forgetting we're in 2022. The analysts are predicting, they were predicting what, 1.2, maybe 1.3 million vehicles. That's already the run rate going on now with Fremont and Shanghai. And that's assuming that Fremont and Shanghai don't continue to grow and expand on their own. And they are. Shanghai is also getting expansion. Shanghai is still getting better and still ramping up. And that alone was 1.3 million vehicle run rate. What happens once Austin and Berlin open up? What are those going to ramp up to? Shanghai ramped to, I believe it was 150,000 vehicles in its first year. Do you really think that Tesla won't be able to improve upon that in Berlin or Austin? You think after 2 to 3 years of learning in Shanghai, and they're going to start the Model Y, a vehicle they've already been into production. They already know how to produce this vehicle. So I'm estimating, I haven't done my numbers, but just ballpark off the top of my head, probably about 200,000 from Austin, 200,000 from Berlin for the first year as they run up. That's conservative, I think. That's 400,000 right there. You add that to the 1.3 that they can already produce now, that's 1.7. That's assuming that we stay at the status quo for Fremont and Shanghai. There's so much more to go. I hope all of you were picking up shares during this time of this, tumultuous stock market inflection with the Fed and all that. Keep in mind, none of this investment advice, but that was a lot of noise. We've seen a lot of noise this last week. I did a lot of buying. I changed some of my sold puts. I went ahead and dropped the price down on them. So at this point, it's just ridiculous. Tesla's actually trading less than what they were before we came to the new year. Tesla is at a discount. It is insane. And we still have Q4 coming up. We still have Austin open. We still have Berlin open. And I really believe Elon is set to make a big announcement, and it's probably about these factories, but it just seems like he's been very quiet. He just increased the price of FSD from 10,000 to 12,000. I'm pretty sure that he's going to maintain the price for anyone who reserve FSD for the Cybertruck, which I'm one of them. So hopefully that maintains, but even if it doesn't, I get it. It is what it is. I prefer they keep it, but we'll see what happens. I think they'll probably leave it, though. It makes good sense to do that, especially from a fan and loyalty perspective. And it's kind of a contract that you already signed into it. But we'll see. Either way, the fact is they're raising the prices of FSD, and to me, that's a very bullish sign. That tells me that they have high confidence in it. And I see a lot of people talking about how, it's getting too expensive. It doesn't make sense. It's not worth it yet. But that's the whole point. Because by the time FSD is worth its actual price, it will not be 10,000. It will not be 12,000. It'll be 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000. That's when it's good. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? It's going to get to that level. And it makes sense for Tesla to do this too, because then that will force people into the subscription model, right? Rather than them, forking out all these tens of thousands of dollars, they'll just go into the subscription model, which at the end of the day, for any company, that's just free money, right? That's straight to the bottom line, easy recurring revenue. And that's the golden ticket. But a lot of things happening. I think FSD is happening a lot faster than what we think. 10.9 should be coming out next week. And then version 11, which will be the full stack, and it'll be the new architecture, right? Where instead of taking all of the photons and the images from the cameras and, compressing them and compiling them so that, we can render them to the human eye to look pretty, instead, they're just going to be taking the raw photon count, and they're going to be using that for the neural nets so that they can actually see more, right? There'll be more data for the neural nets. And, it'll be interesting to see if this is a step back in order to go, 3 steps forward, or if it's just going to be great out the gate. We'll find out together. But either way, lots of exciting things happening here. I think there's a big announcement. We're going to have a huge quarter beat, and I think the stock is going to see all-time highs very shortly. I'd be surprised if we go into February or we're in February and we don't see all-time highs. We're not that far from it in the big scheme of things, right? I think the all-time high would be 1250. So we'll see what happens. I'm very bullish. None of this financial advice. It's an exciting time to be a Tesla investor. Ignore everything with the Fed, right? That's just noise. Right, it's fear of inflation. At the end of the day, a company like Tesla is the perfect company to be invested when there's inflation. All right, ideally during inflationary times, you want to invest in a company that has low to no debt, Tesla, a company that can raise prices on physical goods because they make physical goods, Tesla, a company that has excellent margins, Tesla, and a company that doesn't have to build more infrastructure in order to add more volume. Right? Giga Berlin, Giga Austin, they're done, right? So that's, again, Tesla. So they can ramp up all this extra volume without having to spend more money and deal with all these new inflationary prices on goods, on building materials, all that. All these other car companies, all these other manufacturing companies that have to go through that, it's going to be painful for them during a inflationary period. So we'll see what happens, but I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. All right, we're going to leave it there for today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully you found this of some value, and hopefully it provides a better understanding of what Tesla's doing and some of the moves they're making. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, the size of these land masses aren't by accident, right? There's other things happening here. There's other moves that we don't see, but obviously internally they know about. And those are reasons to be bullish and to believe that they have a sight for 20 million vehicles by 2030 at the latest. All right, again, we're going to leave it there. Enjoy your weekend. I love you all. Don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. Peace.